Danielle Arson Fan 69. Thank you so much for joining Brandon. We're going to be having a dedicated session about podcasting and its role in making your brand a better one. Right. We're live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok today. Okay, so these are the platforms I've chosen today. Now, let's dive right into it. So I don't have much time today, so I'm going to be as brief as possible, guys. Okay, so these topics that I'm choosing for the podcast, for the live event, sorry, is the result of the questions that you're sending me, right? So my colleagues and I just sit down, have a sit down together, and decide what is it that could be helpful to you guys. Then we create the live event, whether it's on LinkedIn or on TikTok or other platforms. The decision maker is the questions that you're receiving. So please send your questions to info@whisperboy.com. I'll repeat, info@whisperboy.com. Send your questions there and tell me how is it that we can help and serve your business as a marketing agency. Tom Connolly has joined. Thank you. To those Instagram and YouTube and Facebook friends, I apologize that I don't have the control panel before me today. I can only see the guests and listeners and viewers on TikTok today. So a lot of you have asked me, do I need a podcast for my business? Right? Do I? So lots of you sell. Lots of you don't sell; you just recommend, right? So that's the reason why you're asking me. I'm just recommending. I'm an influencer. Do I need a podcast? The fact that you're asking that question tells me that your business potentially is suffering with low traffic. So if you already don't have a podcast already, that tells me the footfall or the number of traffic, number of people coming to your platforms is significantly low, right? And if that is the case, and when that is the case, you need to start a podcast of some sort. Now, what are the things that you need to remember before setting up a business podcast? I was guilty of this first one, which I'm going to talk about. I never, it never occurred to me that I need to have an age range in mind. So I need to know who I'm talking to, right? If I'm talking to a 60-year-old person, my language and my choice of words is different to when I'm talking to an 18-year-old person, 20-year-old person, right? It's not under 18 because we got a lot of kids coming into the show, disrupting the show. We just limited that to 18 years and older, right? So we solved that problem already. It was really annoying. And somebody came to the show wondering what's going on. I'm not having a business makes this show not a good fit for you. Remember that, please. If you don't have a business, or if you're not thinking of creating a business, this show is not for you. However, if you are between 18 and 40, 18 and 40, 45, this show is definitely for you. There is always room for improvement in your business, and these are the things you need to do. One of them is creating a podcast for your business. This will solve a lot of your problems. You can't turn around and say, "Oh, I don't get warm leads anymore." Most of the leads that you have now is your cold market. Cold market means the people that might see you once, and if you don't attract them and don't sell to them, they will stay your cold market forever. Warm market is the ones who trust you, perhaps dealt with you before, and they trust you more. So you need to know exactly who you're talking to, what kind of industry you're in, what kind of problem you're solving. These are the things you need to keep in mind before even designing your the main points of the podcast for that day, right? And don't create a podcast for everyone because people who try to serve people who try to serve everyone, they will serve no one. It's very sad, isn't it? But it's the reality of it, right? So that's how business works. If you don't know who you're serving nobody, right? If you don't know what problem you're solving, probably you're not solving a problem. A lot of you tell me, I'm trying to sell this, I'm trying to sell that. No, no, no. You don't sell products, you sell feelings, right? So, as an example, if um, if you're trying to buy a car from me, I wouldn't ask you uh, how many horsepowers you wanted to have. I'll ask you if you're a family person, if you go to work in it, if you drop your kids off at school. I would ask you questions like that. I would try to find out what you're going to use the product for. If you're selling cosmetics, if you're selling makeup, just find out what is it they're using it for. Is it foundation? Is it hiding something, concealing something, or is it enhancing something? And what's the word for that? Accentuating something. If that's the right word for it. I hope it is. So um, after finding out what age range and what gender you're selling the product to, um, you need to remember that your business has a purpose. I mean, the business should have a purpose. I hope it has a purpose, right? So, Stitch for Daphne, Stitch by Daphne. Thank you so much for joining the show as well. So, um, what is the purpose of your business? Are you aware of the purpose your business is serving? So, how, do you go to the Facebook pages? Do you go to the TikTok pages? Do you comment on people's content? You should be doing these things, right? That that gives you a good position as a familiar face. Okay, people can trust you if they know you. If they don't know you, they can't trust you. If they can't trust you, they can't respect you. And if they don't respect you, they don't trust you. There's no way they're going to buy from you. So please remember these hierarchies, right? So um, you need to decide what your podcast is supposed to be doing, right? You are supposed your podcast is supposed to be doing one of the three things, right? It should either build trust or build authority, or it should build relationships, right? So trust, authority, relationship. Remember this. TAR, right? So how is it they can build trust? When people see you after a while, look at your favorite actors. You don't know them personally. How do you trust the actor is going to be a good one? Because you've seen them perform in the previous movies, right? So somehow you know their face, you know how they perform, you know the characters' names from previous movies. So the more you are in touch with someone, the more chances of trusting them. Now that is very different to building authority. Building authority means um, ideally you will become the person or the company or the provider that your buyers will buy from at all times. They don't see nobody else in that line of work. So as an example, if Grace Hunt, who just joined the show, thank you so much for joining, if um, if Grace sells um, um, suits, as an example, because I trust Grace, I've seen Grace in my shirt, I'm going to buy my suits from Grace. Stitch by Daphne. So if I, well, let's say Stitch by Daphne is I'm going to use my imagination and say she's a seamstress. Okay, so um, let's say she sews custom-made clothing. So if I need a custom-made suit, I would go to Stitch by Daphne. Why is it? Because she's built a trust with me, um, and after a while, she gets positioned in my head as the authority in that line of work because I've gone to her podcasts, I've gone to her shop, I've seen her online shop, okay, and um, and better than building trust and building authority is building relationships. So when you buy from them, more than likely they will reciprocate and they will buy from you, right? Law of reciprocation. People buy from each other, right? So if she wants to start a podcast, if she wants to buy podcasting equipment, she will come to me as an example, right? So um, then we have a relationship. So if she wants to uh, advertise the business, she will come to me and say, "Can you um, play this video as an example in your live events?" And I will do it for her because we've built a relationship with each other. And conversely, she will advertise me in her podcast or in her content. So the purpose is raising awareness. The purpose of podcast, right? Raising awareness, creating authority, generating leads. A lot of you tell me, "Oh, I don't have new leads. I don't have new customers." So you need to perhaps start your podcast tonight. Um, Within your podcast, you have the capability, you have the ability to educate your audience. The same thing that we are doing here right now, right? So I am taking time out of my daily schedule, depending which side of the pond you're on. I'm taking time out of my daily schedule and talk to people, help them. And when they need help, when the day comes they want to start a podcast, who do you think they will go to? There is a chance they will come to me. If they do, fantastic. If they don't, I still respect them the same, right? So a lot of people start a podcast, but there's no direction. What do I mean by that? When I say there is no direction, I don't mean they don't know what they're talking about. Yes, they actually do know what they are talking about. But there's a but there, right? Um, what they're talking about is too broad. So let's start a podcast about football. Is that a good idea? I don't think it is. You're talking about a massive concept. What are you going to be talking about? Are you going to be talking about um, managerial positions in football? Are you going to be talking about um, training? Are you going to be talking about buying and selling um, uh, football match tickets, perhaps? So, what is it that you want to focus on? That is your niche, right? As they say, riches are in the niches, right? So, if you want to make good money, you need to niche down or niche down properly, right? So the narrower your subject is, the narrower your podcast is, the easier it is for people to understand what the hell it is that you're talking about, right? So, um, because when a person sits down to watch or listen to a podcast, or watch a podcast, or listen to a podcast, they're not there to listen to everything about football. They have a few interests that they want to satisfy, right? Sometimes they're there for information. Sometimes they're listening to you for um, entertainment, right? So it depends what your podcast is about, right? But whatever your podcast is about, it needs to be niched down properly and enough. And so when it comes to podcast episodes, I have I have attended podcasts and I have listened to podcasts. As you can tell, it's my line of work to because I'm a podcasting and branding expert. So I listen attentively to people's podcasts, and um, it it sounds like um, it's advertising piece of advertising which lasts for an hour and a half. Imagine watching an ad which lasts 1.5 hours. It's too long. What do I mean by that? Um, they turn it into a really long commercial. So they keep talking about the services, they keep talking about this, they keep talking about that. They don't give value. So you have to solve the problem first. Okay. So let me give you an example. So when people come, so let me give you the last episode as an example. So we had an episode and we talked about different different aspects of branding and what it is that you should be doing to um, to turn your brand into a more lean version of it. 10 main things that you need to apply to your branding so you can get your branding right. And then when you get the branding right, these things that we're talking about, your sales will go higher, your marketing will cost less because your marketing will be more effective, and you will get more leads. Other than the things that you are selling, you get more recommendations as well. So get your branding right, and everything else will click into place. I promise you. Right? So um, don't make it too salesy. Right? Solve problems. If you're talking about, um, as an example, um, fixing cars. If your podcast is about fixing vehicles, give people tips about how to um, keep their car running and in a healthy state when on rainy days, as an example. And look, trust me, anyone who has a car will sit down and listen, right? So give them tips, help them, and help them, and help them. At some point, in the middle, at the end, just bring your services to their attention, right? Then then that would be a really healthy way of advertising your business, right? Don't um, don't turn it into something I guess really dull and boring, like a really long commercial. You don't want that. And um, you can provide all the information that you want like in your podcast, but that doesn't guarantee that people will get value out of it. If you wanted to sit down and watch it and listen properly and come back and listen again and come back and listen again, or recommend your podcast and share it out and share it with their friends and family. What you need to do is just give them your opinion, your humor, your experiences, and answer their questions. And don't limit it to just explaining things. For explaining things, people have ChatGPT, don't they? Right? So your personality is what really matters. And um, please, whatever you do, please don't try to be the copy paste version of someone else. It never turns out well. Okay, it never turns out well. It never does because um, and I don't know. Just to give you an example that comes to mind quickly. Um, and a lion can never be a tiger. A tiger can never be an eagle, no matter how much they believe they are eagle or tiger. Right. So you need to focus on your version of things. You have a better chance of making your business or your podcast a success by being yourself, right? It is hard at the beginning. It is very hard at the beginning. I acknowledge that. I know that. I've gone through it. It is difficult at the beginning. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it turns into a success depending on how helpful the podcast is, how much people need it, right? And but if it's like entertainment and stuff like that, you've got to be super good. If you're solving a problem, like I don't know, like you're a mechanic, you're giving advice, you're giving people advice about visa, um, you're a dentist. I don't know. If what you provided has um, a lot of demand, and there's more chances of your podcast being a success. But just so you know, it never don't expect overnight success. As they say, overnight success takes 10 years. So um, and and as I said earlier, your personality matters. Inject your personality into your podcast episodes, and people and be honest and open with it, right? And don't try to hide anything. Please remember, people are clever. They find things. Be honest with them and give them the right advice. And people are smart to understand the right advice. They will hire you for the problems they have in the future, as long as they trust you. Right? How do you create that trust? By turning up consistently. Don't do it one night and then disappear for 30 days and then have another episode. That's not how it works. People need to get to know you, and also you need to get to know people. Show interest in what they do, what they have, what they are, how they are, what they care about. Right? And as they say, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So if you're a caring person, um, you have more chances of succeeding in the market. David, thanks for joining. Kevin, thanks so much for joining as well. If there are names that I can't pronounce, I apologize. There is a couple of names that are not in English. That is the reason why I put them up here. Right. Marcos, thanks so much for joining. MM76, Lives, thank you so much for joining. Isabel, thank you so much for joining. Milotsky, thanks for joining. Okay. I hope the things I'm sharing with you are the things that you're going to be applying to your podcast. If you don't have a podcast, please create one because it will it will help you in the long run. And as I said before, it's not impossible, it's not easy. And Sylvia, thanks so much for joining. Um, don't expect overnight success, right? And um, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? And the next one that I want to discuss with you guys is um, it, already kind of referred to and talked about. Consistency beats intensity. So I know some people who go live for 4 hours, 4 hours. If you drive fast enough, you can go from Manchester to London in 4 or 5 hours, right? What are you doing? 4 hours. Some people, some of my friends ask me, "Oh, did you watch my last episode?" And when I go to the YouTube channel, uh, what I see, what I find shocks me. I'm like, 4 hours and 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, never mind. Moving on. If you if you expect me to watch the podcast episode for 4 hours and 20 minutes, you must think um, I'm not doing anything with my life. I'm going to spend 4 hours and 20 minutes. Keep the podcast episodes short, guys. Short and sweet, like me, right? So, moving on to the next point. So, keep it consistent. Consistency stumps intensity, right? It beats intensity. Anything. Um, audio quality matters, right? So, what do I mean by that? Um, some of you spend a lot of money on microphones. Some of you use microphones, which costs, I don't know, 10, 20 pounds. surely if you want to have a successful podcast, one of the things that you need to remember is that um, okay, we'll put it this way: when it comes to audio quality, right, if the audio quality is good, nobody bats an eyelid, right? If the quality is good, everyone's going to be like, okay, that was good, that was fantastic. Um, um, in their head, nobody would talk about it, right? But if the quality is bad, they would come out and tell you the quality was awful. Mart Army, thanks so much for joining. Gibson, thank you so much for joining. Uh, travel Travel Basis and Ross, thank you so much for joining us. Natural Culture, thank you so much for joining. If I missed someone, I apologize. Yelis Russo, thank you so much for joining. Liv is back, thank you, Liv. Liv, sorry. So, uh, you don't need a £5,000 an audio studio, right? But if the quality is bad, right, it will make you sound really amateur, and you need to spend a little bit of money on your microphone and your podcast um, device. It could be a door, it could be um, a simple audio interface, it could be anything. As long as you uh, put some effort in, spend a little bit of money on it, right? Um, and uh, people will always be seeking quality. I'm not saying spend big do- big big dollars on the podcast equipment, but keep a minimum standard, right? Next. One podcast episode can become short videos, TikTok reels, YouTube shorts, okay, LinkedIn posts, quotes, so people might like it and redistribute it time and time again. So you record it once, but it will be on the internet forever, right? And if what you're talking about is worth mentioning, and if it is something worthy of listening to, which I hope it is, Helen, thanks for joining. If what you're talking about is worth listening to, but worth sharing, people will listen to it and people will be sharing. So you need to plan it properly because what you're talking about will get clipped and will be shared, right? So think about quality and think strategically. That's what I'm trying to say. Think strategically and um, remember if you're saying something in front of the camera, if you're saying something in front of the microphone, remember it should be helping people for the months and the years to come, right? So try to apply that sort of knowledge to your workflow. So your workflow should consist of helpful stuff. So successful podcasts always solve a problem. That problem could be boredom, which is entertaining podcasts. That problem could be giving advice about medical conditions. Please don't give medical conditions if you're not a medical professional. We all know that president who said you can inject bleach and cure COVID. Very idiotic. It is what it is. So don't give um, advice on things you're not an expert on. That is my advice to you, right? So if you're giving people advice, it should be something you love. It should be something you have been doing for ages. And so, as an example, I've been doing branding and podcasts since 2010. So um, I started in 2000. I started this agency in 2019. So um, the advice that you give in, right? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't cause detriment to to your audience, right? So as an example, if they listen to my advice and go ahead and buy a microphone, like um, a Rode microphone, RODE, or a Shure microphone, SHURE, I know for a fact that they won't regret it because I've been dealing with these people for decades. Right? So the lovely, the creative, the microphones, etc., etc. So I'm not advising you to do something I haven't done myself, right? So it really matters. The advice that you're giving them should be advice that you apply into your own workflow or into your own life, right? You're applying that advice to your own life. And that's the same advice you give your family members, friends, right? And strangers. So remember, you're not just a podcaster. You are in the business of converting strangers into friends. You're building up meaningful relationships. And clever podcasters, what they do is they turn strangers into customers and then turn those customers into their own marketing department. Because when they are satisfied, when those customers are happy, they will be talking about you. They can't shut up about your services, uh, how perfect and fantastic you are. Right? When people like you, they like you. You know that. So, and when you solve their problem, they will be your friend forever. Right? Remember, when you when you're on your podcast, just dedicate 10%, 5% of your time about your skills, about what you do. Right? Talk about your audience all the time. Right? So otherwise they get bored and they think you're too narcissistic for their liking, and then they will never return. Right? Just satisfy your your market, and your market will satisfy you. If you give, this is what my granddad told me and I learned from him. If you give people what they need, they will give you what you want. I'm going to repeat this. If you give people what they need, they will give you what you want. Right? So people don't come to the market with their wallets and their purses to listen to you talking about how perfect you are. They come to the market because they're after um, a solution. People don't buy products. People don't buy services. People buy solutions. And not just solutions. They buy the satisfaction that your solution will give them. This is the correct way of branding. This is the correct way of podcasting. It's working for me. I hope it works for you too. So, um, towards the end of each episode, 99% of podcasts don't do this, and successful ones do it. So, at the end of the episode, I want you to tell your listeners to go somewhere and do something. This is called a call to action. Right? As an example, you can tell them um, subscribe and share your channel, subscribe to your channel and share it, or go to your website and um, find out what services they do. As an example, I'm going to give you a CTA now, call to action, CTA. I'm going to ask you to go to my website, whisperboy.com, shop, to the shop section. So whisperboy.com /shop, and find out what kind of service out of my services, out of our services you need. And whatever you like, write to us or purchase on the website or find us on LinkedIn. Cyrus Kafash on LinkedIn. You can just find me there. And we can discuss it further and find out how we can help. So, as you can see, we've been talking about for 35, 40 minutes now, right? We did not make it all about our organization. We are solving a problem. We are teaching people here how to increase their sales, how to optimize their marketing efforts. Right? And, and the last point I'm going to make here is many people's problem. I want you to focus on this bit more than you focus on the other 9 points. This is the 10th one, this is the last one. It doesn't matter how many people like your work, how many people compliment you. It doesn't matter how many comments you get in. It's about your impact. I know people who deal with 300 customers throughout the course of the year, but when I go to the LinkedIn page is around 7,000, 6,000. And I'm just thinking, how on earth have you managed to do that? That is ideal for one person to be dealing with 300 customers, right? 300 leads active per year with 7,000 followers or less. And I know people who have 25,000 followers and they struggle with leads, they struggle with serving customers, they struggle with recommendations, they struggle and they struggle and they struggle. Why? Because they're not doing it right, right? So if you tell me you have 20,000 views on your podcast and you've not had any inquiries and you haven't converted those inquiries into customers, it's just pointless. What's the difference between 20,000 people watching the channel or 20 million, 20 million people, or 10 um, or 8 billion? Everybody on Earth, let's say everybody on Earth comes to your channel, hypothetically speaking, but they do not make a purchase. There's something you're not doing right. Okay? And we discussed in the last episode. So you need to do those things. You can go to the last episode of my TikTok channel and see it there. You should go to my live section. There's a full version of it. So, um, so your visits don't matter. Your website visits don't matter. The numbers don't matter. How much of it you convert is what really matters, right? So if if you have 50,000 views and I have 1,000, and I get a customer out of 1,000, my stats have beat yours. Let's flip it around. If you get one inquiry and you convert that to customer, that's 100% conversion rate, isn't it? And I get five and I can't convert any of them, your stats beat mine. It's all about how many of those views turn into inquiries, how many of those inquiries you are converted. So remember, for your business, product or service, whatever you're selling, right? First of all, you're not selling products, you're not selling services, you're selling feelings and peace of mind. You're selling feelings because people use your service and your product to feel good about their body, about their life, about their child, about the service, husband, wife, etc., etc. Right? And also peace of mind because people need peace of mind. Uh, Otherwise, they won't place an order with you. They won't buy from you because they don't want to feel that you've kind of scammed them. They want peace of mind. They want to make sure the product will serve them. They want to make sure they won't regret it. How do you achieve that? So remember, please, these are the things. These are the things you need to remember. So your viewers turn into inquiries. Your inquiries turn into um, converted customers, right? So, and these are the things you can apply, and then that customer will come back and turns into a repeat customer. Uh, good on you. Good on you if you've achieved that level of customer service. If your customers buy from you, they come back for more, right? So that is an ideal scenario for a sales process, isn't it? So you want them to buy things from you and come back. If they do, that tells me your product is fantastic, your service is fantastic, and your customer service is fantastic as well because that person has come back. That means they completely trust you. Remember, the job of a partner is to create trust, build authority, and build a relationship with people. Right? So if you haven't created a podcast, go ahead and do it tonight. If you don't know where to start from, you can go to whisperword.com, go to shop and find out which one of my services will help you, and then we'll take it from there. We may or may not be able to help you through the rest of the year, but we might be able to point you in the right direction. From now until 20, yeah, until end of the year, we will be taking on only three more podcasters. So if you have a podcast, if you are thinking about creating a podcast, contact us and we might choose you to help you. Um, this is by no means a promise. This is not a promise. Okay? So um, I don't want to make a promise like that. Right? So we need to have a look at your business first. We need to find out what the scale of your business is, what you sell, what your stats are like, and so on and so forth. So we need to have a preliminary conversation. Depending upon that, we um, will make a decision and let you know. Sure. Right. Now, um, for to those of you who have been watching the show and have been listening to the show for the past 45 minutes, thank you. You could be spending your time here, but you chose to spend it with us. I'm grateful for that. Thank you. So this is the end of the lesson, guys. And if there's one takeaway from this session, let it be the fact that you need to get your branding right. When you get your branding right, your sales will go up. When your branding, these things I'm talking about, the branding side of the business, right? And when the branding is right, when you get the branding right, the cost of advertising and marketing will go lower and lower in your business. So that's something all entrepreneurs want. People want to make more money and spend less in their own business. So, and please don't start a podcast just because that's something people do. Please start a podcast because it feels like you're making a phone call to hundreds of people, thousands of people at the same time on that phone call. You tell them how to be better version of themselves, give them advice, protect them against bad things, give them advice, help them improve their life. Imagine that. The podcast episode is like that phone call. Instead of you dialing every person's phone number, you'll be creating one episode, just like this one that we are doing now, this live event. This will be recorded. This is being recorded, actually. And, it's going to stay on um, our platforms forever. Okay? So, what you do for your community will be remembered and it will be reciprocated. and when they need you, you will turn into a position. You will be turned into a helpful person. You will be in a position of authority because your podcast will build authority. And what do I mean by authority? They look at you as a problem solver in that line of work. That is authority. They see nobody else because you will be shining in their eyes, right? You will be shining as a person who's helpful and is a problem solver. So, for example, if you're a locksmith, if they lose their key, definitely come to you. They have come to your podcast for the past 50, 60 episodes, right? If they lose their key, they will come to you. So, and when you build trust with people and build authority with your customers, automatically they will build a relationship with you. And you will build a relationship with them. Right? Why do I use the word build? Because it is constructed little by little. It won't happen overnight. You can't build a building overnight. So it takes a while. Okay? It takes patience, it takes effort. Okay? So thank you so much for um, joining us in another episode of Branding, as you already guessed. See my branding. So thanks so much for joining us, and I shall see you in the next episode. Send me your questions, um, whatever question you might have. Promise I will read your questions and